My name is Cole Winters, and for the past 3 years I've been a ranger in the Appalachian Mountains. Most people think being a ranger means giving directions to lost hikers and putting out campfires. They're wrong. My job is keeping people away from things they don't understand, things that hunt in the fog, things that wear human faces but aren't human, things that knock on doors at 3:33 a.m. I've seen photographers disappear into the woods and leave nothing behind but cameras full of nightmares. I've watched creatures copy my face and walk through forests I've never been to. I've found lists with my name on them, dated for days I'm still living through. And through it all, I've learned one thing. These mountains don't just change the landscape, they change you. And once they do, there's no going back. Chapter 1. The Missing Photographer. I've seen a lot of strange things in these mountains. Tracks that don't belong to any animal I know, sounds that make your skin crawl, shadows that move when they shouldn't. But nothing prepared me for what I found in that photographer's camp. The camera was still there, lens cap off, pointed at nothing. The tent was neat. His coffee was still warm. And when I developed that last roll of film, I realized he hadn't been alone out there. Something had been following him, something that knew exactly when to stay out of frame, until it didn't. It started on a Tuesday morning. Dispatch called saying a wildlife photographer hadn't checked in. Name was Michael Graves, 32 years old, freelance, shooting a piece on Appalachian black bears for some nature magazine. He had a satellite phone, a GPS tracker, and 5 years of backcountry experience. Not the kind of guy who just vanishes, but he did. His last check-in was 3 days prior. He'd reported seeing a bear den near Crescent Ridge and said he'd be camping nearby to get dawn shots. After that, nothing. No calls, no pings. The GPS went dark. Roger sent me out alone, said it was probably nothing, dead battery, maybe a twisted ankle. Bring him back and tell him to charge his damn phone, he said, handing me the coordinates. The hike took 4 hours. Crescent Ridge is deep territory, past the tourist trails and into the sections we don't advertise. The trees grow tighter there. The air gets heavier. It's the kind of place where your boots feel loud, even on soft earth. I found his camp just after noon. Chapter 2. The camp. Everything was wrong. Not destroyed wrong, not ransacked or bloody or torn apart. It was too perfect. The tent was zipped shut, walls tight, no rips. His backpack sat upright beside the fire pit, straps buckled. A propane stove was set up on a flat rock with a coffee pot on top. I touched the pot, still warm. He'd been here recently, or someone had. I called out, "Michael Graves, Ranger Service." My voice echoed into the trees and died fast. No response. Just wind moving through the branches and the faint rustle of something small in the underbrush. I circled the camp slowly, checking for tracks. I found his boot prints leading toward the ridge, clear and confident. But 20 feet out, they just stopped. No scuff marks, no drag lines, just a last print in the dirt, and then nothing. That's when I saw the camera. It was sitting on a waist-high rock near the tent, a professional-grade Canon with a telephoto lens. The lens cap was off, and it was pointed toward the tree line. I picked it up carefully, checking the settings. Manual focus, shutter set to fast speed, like he'd been tracking something moving. The film counter read 36, a full roll. I popped the back open, pulled the canister, and pocketed it. If Michael had been shooting something before he disappeared, this roll would show me what. I searched the rest of the camp. His sleeping bag was rolled tight. His first aid kit was untouched. His food bag hung properly from a bear line. There was a journal in his pack, but the last entry was 2 days old. It just said, "Found the den. Mama bear spotted me but didn't charge. We'll try for photos at sunrise. Something else out here, though. Keeps circling the camp at night. Can't get a clean look." I read that line 3 times. Something else. I radioed Roger, told him the camp was intact but Graves was gone. He asked if there were signs of struggle. I said no. He told me to bag the evidence and head back before dark. We'll send a search team in the morning. I started packing up Michael's gear. That's when I heard it. A branch snapped, close, maybe 30 feet into the trees. I froze, listened. Another snap, then another, slow, deliberate, like something heavy moving carefully, trying not to be heard. "Michael?" I called. The snapping stopped. I pulled my sidearm and clicked the safety off. My hand was steadier than I expected. "This is Ranger Cole Winters. If you're out there, make yourself known." Nothing. I waited another full minute, then backed toward the trail. I didn't turn around until I hit the main path. Even then, I felt it. That crawling sensation on the back of my neck. The one you get when you know something's watching you. Chapter 3. Developing the film. I made it back to the station just before dusk. Roger was on the porch drinking coffee, and he took one look at me and knew something was off. "You look like you saw a ghost," he said. "Didn't see anything. That's the problem." I told him about the camp, the warm coffee, the boot prints that ended, the journal entry. He listened without interrupting, which meant he was taking it seriously. "You bring the camera?" he asked. I held up the film canister. "Got the last roll. Figured it might tell us something." Roger nodded. "We've got a dark room in the back. Old setup, but it works. You know how to develop?" I didn't, but Roger did. We spent the next 2 hours in the dark room, a cramped closet that smelled like chemicals and old paper. Roger walked me through it, loading the film, mixing the developer, timing the exposure. It was slow work, meditative almost, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Finally, we hung the negatives to dry and waited. Then we made contact prints, small thumbnails of each frame. Roger laid them out on the table under a lamp. 36 shots, arranged in order. The first 20 were beautiful. Professional quality stuff. A black bear cub climbing a tree. A doe drinking from a stream. Fog rolling over the ridgeline at dawn. Michael knew what he was doing. Then, at frame 21, things started to change. Chapter 4. The Frames Frame. 21 was a wide shot of the forest at dusk. Trees, shadows, nothing unusual, but in the distant background, just barely visible, there was a shape. Tall, humanoid, standing between two pines. Frame 22 was the same angle, but the shape had moved. Closer, still blurry, still far, but definitely closer. Frame 23, closer still. Roger leaned in, squinting. "What the hell is that?" I didn't answer. I was already looking at frame 24. The shape was now in the mid-ground. You could make out details, long limbs, no clear head, just a mass where the neck should be. The proportions were wrong, arms too long, legs bent backward at the knee. Frame 25, it was at the edge of the clearing now, maybe 50 feet from the camera. Frame 26, 30 feet. I felt my stomach tighten. Michael had been standing there, watching this thing approach, and he kept shooting, kept documenting. That took guts, or denial. Frame 27 was when it got bad. The creature was fully in frame now. The focus was sharp. It was hunched, but still over 7 feet tall. Its skin looked wet, almost black, like oil slick in moonlight. The arms dragged on the ground. No hands, just split ends, like branches. And the face, there was no face. Just a smooth surface with a vertical split down the middle, like a cracked mask. Roger muttered something under his breath. I didn't catch it. Frame 28. The creature was closer, 15 feet maybe. You could see texture now. The skin wasn't skin, it was bark, peeling, wet bark, and underneath something pale and veined. Frame 29. 10 feet, frame 30. The creature filled the frame. It was right in front of the camera. You could see inside the split in its face, rows of something sharp, not teeth, splinters. Frame 31 was black, completely black, like the lens had been covered. Frame 32, still black. Frame 33, a blur of motion, trees spinning, ground, sky. Frame 34, the camera was on the ground now, pointed up at an angle. You could see Michael's legs in the frame. He was running. Frame 35, the legs were gone, just forest floor, a shadow passing over the lens. Frame 36 was the last shot. It was a close-up, Michael's face. But the angle was wrong. The photo was taken from above, looking down. Michael was on his back, eyes wide, mouth open in a scream. And behind him, just out of focus, you could see it, the creature, leaning over him, its split face open wide. The photo was perfectly exposed, perfectly framed, like someone else had taken it. Roger and I sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he spoke. "We need to call this in." "To who?" I asked. "The Institute. This isn't a rescue mission anymore." Chapter 5. The Search. The Institute sent a team 2 days later, 4 hunters. No names, just call signs. They swept Crescent Ridge with thermal imaging, scent dogs, and enough firepower to take down a small building. They found Michael 3 miles from his camp, or what was left of him. The hunters wouldn't tell me details, but I overheard enough. He'd been rearranged. That was the word they used. Like something had taken him apart and put him back together wrong. All the pieces were there, they said, just not in the right order. They burned the body on site. Protocol for code red fatalities. Didn't want to risk moving it. The creature? They never found it. The hunters said it was likely a mimic, a rare species that studies its prey before taking it. They're smart, patient. They can stand still for days, just watching, learning. And once they've learned enough, they move fast. The photos I developed were handed over to the Institute, classified. I never saw them again, but I remember every frame. Chapter 6. What I learned. A month later, I was back on patrol. Different trail, different ridge, but the same woods. I started carrying a film camera with me. Old school, manual. Roger thought I was paranoid. Maybe I was. But here's the thing. Digital cameras have a half-second delay between pressing the shutter and capturing the image. Film doesn't. Film is instant. And if something's moving fast, faster than you can process, film will catch it. I've shot 4 rolls since then. 3 came back normal, 1 didn't. In frame 18, there's something in the background of a landscape shot I took. Tall, hunched, standing between 2 trees. I didn't see it when I took the photo, but it saw me. I haven't developed another roll since. Epilogue. Michael Graves' family was told he died in a fall. Tragic accident. Remote location. They got his personal effects back. Clothes, journal, camping gear. But not the camera. The Institute kept that. I think about him sometimes. About that last photo. The one where he's on his back, screaming, and the camera's in the air above him. I think about who, or what, was holding it. Because that's the part that still keeps me up. Mimics don't use tools. They don't understand technology. They hunt on instinct. So if the mimic didn't take that last photo, what did? Story 2. The thing that knocks 3 times. Chapter 1. The rule. Some sounds you learn to ignore. Wind through the trees. Animals moving through brush. The old cabin settling on its foundation. But there's one sound I could never ignore, no matter how hard I tried. Every night at 3:33 a.m., 3 knocks on the cabin door. Slow, rhythmic, deliberate. Roger warned me on my first night. "You'll hear it," he said. "Everyone does. But you don't look, you don't answer, and you never, ever open that door. Understood? I understood. Or I thought I did. 2 years I followed that rule without question. 2 years of lying in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, listening to those 3 knocks echo through the darkness. Then came the night Roger had to leave, an emergency call from another district. He looked at me before he left, hesitated, then said, "Remember the rule, Cole. No matter what you hear, no matter what it says." I nodded, but I didn't understand. Not until 3:33 a.m. rolled around and the knocking started. Because this time the thing outside wasn't just knocking, it was using my voice. My first night at Crescent Valley Station, I didn't believe Roger when he told me about the knocking. I mean, I'd seen enough weird things in these mountains by then. Crawlers, mimics, things without names. But a ghost that knocks on doors at 3:33 a.m., it sounded like campfire bullshit. "I'm serious," Roger said, pouring himself a cup of coffee that was more sludge than liquid. "Every night, same time, 3 knocks. You'll hear it." "What is it?" I asked. He shrugged. "Don't know. Don't want to know. Been happening since before I got here. Before the guy before me, too." "And nobody's ever checked?" Roger's face went dark. "One guy did. Ranger named Tom Milner, 1987. Opened the door to see what was knocking." "What happened to him?" "Nobody knows. He was gone by morning. Left his boots by the door. His coat on the hook. Coffee mug still warm. But Tom..." Roger shook his head. "Never found him. And his boots were placed too neatly, like someone took them off for him." I waited for him to smile, to tell me he was messing with me. He didn't. "So we don't open the door at 3:33, he said. "We don't look outside. We don't acknowledge it. And it leaves us alone." That first night, I didn't sleep. I lay in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, waiting. At 3:32, I checked my watch. The cabin was silent except for Roger's snoring from the other side of the room. Then at exactly 3:33, I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. 3 slow, deliberate strikes on the wooden door. Not aggressive, almost polite, like someone waiting to be invited in. I held my breath. Roger didn't stir. The knocking stopped, and the silence that followed felt heavier than it should have. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. Chapter 2. The pattern. The knocking became routine. Every night, 3:33 a.m., 3 knocks. Some nights it was soft. Some nights it was louder, more insistent. But it was always 3, never 2, never 4. I asked Roger about it a few more times over the first few months, but he shut me down every time. "It's just part of the job," he said. "Like checking perimeter sensors or filling out incident reports. It happens. You ignore it. You move on." But I couldn't move on. I started keeping a journal, logging each night, noting patterns. The knocks were always the same interval, about 2 seconds between each one, always on the front door, never the back, and always when only rangers were inside. If we had visitors, contractors, or institute personnel staying over, the knocking didn't come. It knew when we were alone. One night, about 6 months in, I worked up the nerve to get closer. I didn't open the door. I'm not stupid. But I crept out of my bunk and moved to the window beside the door. The curtain was drawn, but there was a gap at the edge. The knocking came right on schedule. Knock, knock, knock. I held my breath and leaned toward the window, trying to see through the gap. The porch was bathed in moonlight. I could see the rocking chair Roger liked to sit in, the firewood stacked against the railing, the trees beyond, but I couldn't see anything at the door. No figure, no shadow, nothing. The knocking stopped. I stayed frozen by the window, listening. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. slow, heavy, moving across the porch, but not away from the cabin, toward the window. I jerked back, heart hammering, and scrambled back to my bunk. I lay there, eyes wide, listening to the footsteps stop right outside the window. Something was standing there. I could feel it. The air in the room felt thicker, colder. Then, after what felt like an eternity, the footsteps moved away, slow, deliberate, fading into the woods. I didn't tell Roger what I'd done, but I never looked out that window again. Chapter 3. The night Roger left. 2 years into the job, I'd gotten used to the knocking. It was just background noise now, like the wind or the distant hoot of an owl. I still didn't like it, but I'd learned to live with it. Then Roger got the call. It was late afternoon when the radio crackled to life. Another district, 40 miles north, had a situation. Missing hikers, possible code yellow. They needed experienced personnel on site immediately. Roger grabbed his pack and started loading gear. "I'll be gone overnight, maybe 2 days," he said. "You good here?" I nodded. "Yeah, I've done solo shifts before." "Not overnight, you haven't." He stopped packing and looked at me. Really looked at me. "Cole, the rule still applies when I'm gone. You hear me? Don't open the door. Don't look outside. Don't engage." "I know the rule, Roger." "I'm serious. It's different when you're alone." "Different how?" He hesitated, then shook his head. "Just follow the rule. I'll be back tomorrow night." He left just before sunset. I watched his truck disappear down the trail, and for the first time in 2 years, I was completely alone at the station. The night was quiet, too quiet. I made dinner, did some paperwork, checked the perimeter sensors. Everything was normal. I kept myself busy until about midnight, then forced myself to lie down. I didn't expect to sleep, but I must have dozed off, because the next thing I knew, I was jolting awake. My watch read 3:32 a.m. I sat up in bed, heart already racing. The cabin was dark except for the faint glow of the perimeter monitor in the corner. I could hear my own breathing, loud in the silence. Then, right on schedule, the knocking started. Knock, knock, knock. I stayed in bed, eyes locked on the door. The knocks echoed through the cabin louder than usual. Or maybe it just felt that way because I was alone. The knocking stopped. I waited for the footsteps, for the sound of something moving away into the woods. But this time, I heard something else. A voice. "Cole?" I froze. It was my voice. My exact voice. "Cole, are you in there?" It was coming from outside the door. Chapter 4. The Voice. My hands were shaking. I pulled the blanket tighter around me, like that would somehow protect me. "Cole, I need help. Please, open the door." It sounded exactly like me. The pitch, the tone, even the slight rasp I get when I'm tired. It was perfect. "I'm hurt, Cole. Please." I wanted to respond, to say something, but Roger's voice echoed in my head. "Don't engage. Cole, I know you're in there. I can hear you breathing." My breath caught. Could it actually hear me? I tried to breathe quieter, slower. "Come on, Cole. It's cold out here. Just open the door." I stayed silent, stayed still. Then the voice changed. It dropped lower, flatter. The emotion drained out of it. "I know you're listening, Cole." My blood went cold. "You've been listening for 2 years, every night, lying in your bed, pretending you can't hear me." It paused. "But you do hear me, don't you?" I clenched my jaw, forcing myself not to respond. "That's okay. You don't have to answer. I already know. Footsteps, slow, moving across the porch. I know a lot of things about you, Cole. I know you check the windows sometimes. I know you count the knocks. I know you write about me in your little journal. The footsteps stopped, right at the window beside the door. I know you're curious. You want to see me. You want to know what I am. Silence. Then, barely a whisper. Why don't you open the door and find out? I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't blink. After a long moment, the voice spoke again. This time it wasn't my voice anymore. It was Roger's. Cole, it's me. I came back early. Open up. No. Roger was 40 miles away. This wasn't him. Cole, I forgot my keys. Come on, don't make me stand out here all night. The voice was perfect, exactly like Roger. The gruffness, the impatience. Cole! The doorknob rattled. Open this door right now. I wanted to believe it was Roger. Part of me desperately wanted it to be him, but I knew better. The rattling stopped. Then I heard something that made my stomach drop. Scratching, not on the door, on the window. Long, slow drags like fingernails on glass. I couldn't help it. I turned my head toward the sound. The curtain was drawn, but I could see a shadow on the other side. Tall, too tall. Its arm was raised, fingers pressed against the glass. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I can wait, Cole, the voice said back to my own. I've been waiting for a long time. I'm very patient. The scratching stopped. The shadow moved away from the window. See you tomorrow night. Footsteps, slow, fading into the woods. Then silence. Chapter 5. The morning after I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I sat in my bunk, sidearm in my lap, watching the door until the sun came up. When the first light broke through the windows, I finally moved. I crept to the door, unlocked it, and stepped outside. The porch was empty. Morning mist rolled through the trees, and birds were starting to sing. Everything looked normal, except for the door. There were scratches, deep gouges in the wood, clustered around the handle, like something with very long fingers had tried to claw its way in. And below the scratches, carved into the wood in jagged letters, were 2 words. Soon, Cole. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I pulled out my radio and called Roger. Roger, it's Cole. You need to get back here, now. Static crackled. Then his voice came through. Cole, what's wrong? It talked to me. Last night, it used my voice, then yours. Silence on the other end. Roger, I'm on my way. Don't leave the cabin. And Cole, yeah? Whatever you do, don't go outside after dark, not until I get back. Chapter 6. Roger's story. Roger made it back by noon. He took one look at the scratches on the door, and his face went pale. It's escalating, he muttered. What is it, Roger? What the hell is that thing? He sighed and gestured for me to follow him inside. We sat at the table, and he poured 2 cups of coffee. His hands were shaking slightly. I don't know what it is, he said. Not exactly, but I know what it does. Tell me. It mimics, takes your voice, your face, if it gets a good enough look at you. It learns you, studies you, and when it knows you well enough, it tries to get you to let it in. Why? Because it can't come in on its own. It needs permission, an invitation. I stared at him. You're saying it's like a vampire? No. Worse. A vampire just kills you. This thing, it replaces you. He took a sip of coffee and continued. Tom Milner, the ranger who opened the door. We found him 3 weeks later. or we found something that looked like him. It walked into town, went to his house, lived with his wife and kids for 2 days before they noticed something was wrong. Wrong how? It didn't blink, didn't need to eat. And when Tom's wife asked it a question only the real Tom would know, it couldn't answer. So it left. Just walked out the door and back into the woods. They found the real Tom a week later, buried under his own porch. He'd been dead since the night he opened the door. I felt sick. So what do? We follow the rule. We don't engage. We don't give it what it wants. And if it doesn't stop, Roger looked at me. Then we call the Institute, and they burn this place to the ground. Chapter 7, the second night. Roger stayed with me that night. We both sat up, armed, waiting. 3:33 a.m. came. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence. No voice, no scratching, just the knocks. Roger exhaled slowly. Maybe it's done. But I knew better. At 3:34, the radio crackled to life. Crescent Valley Station, this is Ranger Cole Winters. Do you copy? My blood ran cold. That was my voice, coming through the radio. Roger grabbed the handset. Who is this? It's Cole. I'm outside. I got locked out. Can you open the door? Roger slammed the handset down and switched off the radio. It's adapting, he said. For the rest of the night, we heard it trying, knocking on windows, scratching at the walls, calling our names in different voices, mine, Roger's, even voices of rangers who used to work here. But we didn't answer. We didn't look. We didn't engage. By dawn, it stopped. Epilogue, the transfer. A week later, the Institute sent me transfer orders. They were moving me to a different station, 2 states over. Roger wasn't surprised. It's marked you, he said. It knows your voice now, your patterns. If you stay, it'll keep trying. What about you? I'll be fine. I've been dealing with it for 20 years. It doesn't bother with me anymore. Why not? He smiled grimly. Because I already told it no, and it knows I'll never change my mind. I packed my things and left Crescent Valley the next morning. As I drove away, I looked back at the cabin one last time. Roger was on the porch, coffee in hand, watching me go. And behind him, barely visible in the shadows of the tree line, I saw something tall, watching. I haven't been back since, but sometimes late at night when I'm alone, I hear it. 3 knocks, slow, deliberate, patient. It followed me, and it's still waiting for me to open the door. Story 3, the trail camera footage. Chapter 1, routine maintenance. I've been a ranger in Appalachia for 3 years now, and I've seen plenty of strange things on trail camera footage. Creatures that don't match any known species, shadows that move wrong, lights in the forest where no lights should be. But nothing prepared me for what I found on camera number 47 last Tuesday. It was me, walking through the frame at 2:17 in the morning. But it couldn't have been me. I was at the station that night. I remember it clearly. Roger and I stayed up late going over territory maps. I never left the cabin, so I watched the footage again, and every time it got worse, because the thing wearing my face wasn't just walking past the camera. It was performing, moving deliberately, making sure it was seen. And at the end, it turned, looked directly into the lens, and its smile stretched wider than any human smile should go. The Institute maintains a network of trail cameras throughout our territory. 47 cameras total, spread across 200 square miles of Appalachian wilderness. Each one is motion-activated, weatherproof, and equipped with night vision. There are eyes in places we can't patrol daily. My job is to check them monthly, swap batteries, clear the SD cards, review the footage for anything unusual. Most of the time, it's boring work. Hours of deer walking past, raccoons investigating the camera housing, the occasional black bear scratching its back on a tree. Sometimes we catch hikers off the marked trails, and we use that data to figure out where we need better signage. But sometimes, not often, but sometimes, we catch things we can't identify. Last month, camera number 31 caught something with too many legs moving through the underbrush. We flagged it as code yellow and sent the footage to the Institute. They said it was a juvenile crawler migrating south. 2 months ago, camera number 19 recorded what looked like a person standing completely still in the middle of the frame for 6 hours straight, never moving, never blinking, just standing. When dawn broke, the figure was gone. No footprints, no trail. Roger said it was probably a watcher, a type of entity that observes but doesn't interact. Creepy but harmless. So when I headed out Tuesday morning to service camera number 47, I wasn't expecting anything unusual. Camera number 47 is positioned on Black Ridge Trail, about 8 miles northeast of our station. Remote area, not many hikers, thick forest canopy. It's one of our quieter cameras. I hiked out just after sunrise. The trail was muddy from recent rain, and the air smelled like wet earth and pine. When I reached the camera, everything looked normal. The housing was intact. No damage, no signs of tampering. I popped open the case, swapped the batteries, and pulled the SD card. Slipped it into my pack and started the hike back. Chapter 2. The Review. Back at the station, Roger was on the porch drinking coffee and reading through incident reports. I waved as I passed and headed inside to the monitoring room, a converted closet with a desk, a laptop, and a filing cabinet full of SD cards. I made myself a cup of coffee, sat down, and plugged in the card from camera number 47. The footage was organized by date and timestamp. I started with the oldest files first. Day 1, normal. A doe and 2 fawns passing through around dawn. A fox later that afternoon. Some birds landing on a nearby branch. Day 2, more deer. A hiker with a large backpack heading north. Nothing unusual. Day 3, this is where it started. The timestamp read 2:17 a.m. Motion trigger. The camera switched to night vision mode, bathing the forest in that grainy green-gray glow. For a few seconds, nothing moved. Just trees, shadows, the faint outline of the trail. Then, from the left side of the frame, someone walked into view. I leaned closer to the screen. It was me. Same height, same build, same Ranger Khalid with the Institute patch on the shoulder. Same walk, slightly favoring my right leg from an old knee injury. I felt my stomach tighten. The figure stopped in the middle of the frame and stood there, completely still, facing the camera. I checked the date on the footage. 3 nights ago. I pulled out my logbook and flipped to that date. There it was, in my own handwriting. Night shift. Station duty with Roger. Territory map review. No field activity. I hadn't left the station that night. I was certain of it. Roger and I had stayed up until almost 3 a.m., going over border updates and discussing a code yellow sighting near Crescent Valley. So who, or what, was on that footage? I hit rewind and watched it again. The figure walked into frame, stopped, stared at the camera. This time, I noticed something I'd missed before. It wasn't blinking. I watched for 15 seconds, 20, 30. The figure stood there, completely motionless, eyes locked on the camera lens. Then slowly, it smiled. Chapter 3. The Smile. I've seen a lot of unsettling things in this job. Creatures with too many limbs, faces that don't quite look human, eyes that glow in the dark. But there was something uniquely horrifying about seeing my own face smile like that. It started normal enough. A small upturn of the lips. The kind of smile you'd give someone when passing them on a trail. But it didn't stop. The corners of the mouth kept pulling upward, higher, wider. The lips stretched until they revealed teeth. Too many teeth. More than a human mouth should have. And the smile kept growing. The skin around the mouth began to split, Not bleeding, just separating, like it was being pulled apart by invisible hands. The jaw unhinged, and the mouth opened, wider and wider, until the entire lower half of the face was just a gaping black void, lined with rows of jagged, uneven teeth. I jerked back from the screen, heart pounding. The footage continued. The thing wearing my face stood there for another 10 seconds, mouth impossibly wide, staring directly into the camera. Then it closed its mouth, slowly, deliberately, like it was savoring the moment, and walked out of frame to the right. The motion sensor deactivated. The footage ended. I sat there, staring at the blank screen, trying to process what I'd just seen. Then I heard Roger's voice from the doorway. "You okay in here?" I jumped, nearly knocking my coffee over. Roger stood in the doorway, eyebrows raised. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Worse," I said. "I saw myself." Chapter 4. Roger's reaction. I replayed the footage for Roger. He watched in silence, arms crossed, face unreadable. When it got to the part where the smile stretched too wide, he exhaled slowly through his nose. "Yep," he said. "That's a doppelganger." "A what?" "Doppelganger. Mimic species. Rare but not unheard of. They copy people. Appearance, mannerisms, sometimes even voice. They study you, learn you, then wear you like a costume." I stared at him. How long has that thing been watching me? Hard to say. Could be weeks, could be months. They're patient. What does it want? Roger leaned back against the desk. "Depends. Some doppelgangers just observe. They're curious. They copy someone, wander around for a while, then move on. Others..." He paused. "Others want to replace you. Replace me. Take your place, your life, your identity. They get rid of the original and step in. Most people don't notice the switch until it's too late." I felt a chill run down my spine. How do we stop it? First, we confirm it's still in the area. If it's moved on, we're fine. If it's still here, we call the Institute and they send a containment team. How do we confirm? Roger pulled out a map and spread it on the desk. He tapped a spot northeast of our position. "Camera number 47 is here. You said the footage was from 3 nights ago." I nodded. "Okay." We checked the neighboring cameras. If it's still around, it'll show up on others. Doppelgangers are territorial once they pick a target. They stick close. We spent the next 2 hours reviewing footage from cameras, number 45, number 46, number 48, and number 49. Camera number 45, nothing unusual. Camera number 46, nothing. Camera number 48, a deer, a hiker, normal activity. Then we got to camera number 49. Chapter 5. Camera number 49. Camera number 49 is positioned near the old logging road, about 2 miles west of camera number 47. It covers a section of trail that loops back toward the station. I loaded the SD card and started reviewing. Day 1, clear. Day 2, clear. Day 3, 3:42 a.m., just over an hour after the camera number 47 sighting. Motion trigger. The figure walked into frame from the north. Same colite, same walk, same face. Me. But this time it wasn't alone. Behind it, barely visible in the edge of the frame, there was another figure. Shorter, thinner, moving in perfect sync with the first. Roger leaned closer. "What the hell is that?" I zoomed in. The second figure looked like a child, maybe 10 years old, wearing a colite similar to mine, but smaller. "Is that..." I trailed off. Roger's face went pale. "That's Sarah." "Who's Sarah?" "Sarah Mitchell. Former ranger. Worked here 5 years ago. Went missing on a routine patrol. We never found her body. I stared at the screen. You're saying that thing has been copying her for 5 years? Or worse, maybe it got her. Maybe she's still out there somewhere and it's been pretending to be her all this time. The two figures in the footage stopped in the middle of the frame. They turned toward the camera in unison, like puppets on the same string. Then they smiled, both of them, the same horrible, stretching smile. Their mouths opened wider and wider, and for a brief moment, I saw something moving inside the darkness, something writhing, like dozens of thin tendrils or worms. Then they walked out of frame together, disappearing into the woods. Roger shut the laptop. We're calling the Institute, now. Chapter 6, The Institute's Response. The Institute sent a team within 6 hours. 3 hunters, fully armed, equipped with thermal imaging and tranquilizer rounds designed for code-red entities. The lead hunter's name was Marcus. Tall, broad-shouldered, face like weathered stone. He reviewed our footage without saying a word. When it finished, he looked at Roger. How long has Mitchell been missing? 5 years. October 2019. Marcus nodded. And you never found remains? No. We assumed she'd been taken by a predator. Crawler, maybe. Or a bear. Did you ever see her again? After she disappeared? Roger hesitated. No. Why? Marcus pointed at the screen. Because that's not a doppelganger copying her. That's Sarah Mitchell. Or what's left of her. I felt my blood run cold. What do you mean, what's left? Doppelgangers don't just copy. They absorb. They take someone, break them down, and rebuild them as extensions of themselves. Sarah Mitchell didn't die 5 years ago. She was turned, and now she's hunting with it. Hunting what? I asked. Marcus looked at me. You. He explained that doppelgangers work in stages. First, they study you, learn your patterns, your habits, your routines. Then they start mimicking you, testing how close they can get without being noticed. Finally, when they're ready, they isolate you, get you alone, and they replace you. You're in stage 2, Marcus said. It's showing itself to you on purpose. It wants you to know it's there. It's psychological, makes you paranoid, makes you doubt yourself. By the time it moves to stage 3, you're too unstable to fight back. So what do we do? Roger asked. We hunt it, tonight, before it has a chance to make its move. Chapter 7, The Hunt. We geared up just before dusk. I was given a sidearm loaded with specialized rounds, hollow points filled with a chemical compound that disrupts a doppelganger's cellular structure. Essentially, it forces them to lose cohesion. They melt. Marcus and his team moved with military precision. They split us into 2 groups. Marcus and I would head to camera number 47's location. Roger and the other 2 hunters would sweep from the south. The plan was simple: drive it into a kill zone and put it down. We hiked through the darkening woods in silence. The forest felt different now. Every shadow seemed to shift. Every rustling leaf sounded like footsteps. When we reached camera number 47, Marcus held up a fist. We stopped. He pointed at the ground. Footprints. Fresh. Leading north. My footprints. Marcus clicked on his thermal scanner and swept the area. I've got a heat signature. 30 meters. Northwest. We moved carefully, keeping low, weapons ready. The signature led us to a small clearing. In the center stood a figure. Me. It stood perfectly still, back turned, facing the trees. Marcus whispered into his radio. Contact. Visual confirmed. Moving to engage. I raised my weapon, hands shaking. The figure didn't move. Marcus took a step forward. Turn around. Slowly. The figure obeyed. It turned, and I saw my own face staring back at me. But the eyes were wrong. Empty. Like looking into a mirror that didn't reflect light. Cole Winters, it said in my voice. Why are you afraid? Shut up, Marcus said. Get on the ground. Now. It tilted its head. I only wanted to know you. To be you. You have such a simple life, so easy to copy. Last warning, Marcus said. The doppelganger smiled. That horrible, stretching smile. You can't kill me. I'm already you. Then it ran. Chapter 8. The Chase. It moved fast, faster than anything human should move. We chased it through the trees, branches whipping at our faces, boots slipping on wet leaves. Marcus fired twice. Both shots missed. The doppelganger zigzagged through the forest, laughing in my voice. The sound echoed through the darkness, coming from everywhere and nowhere. Then I heard a second voice, a child's voice. Cole, help me. I skidded to a stop. Marcus grabbed my arm. Don't listen. It's the Mitchell copy. They're working together. Cole, please. I'm scared. The voice came from the left. I turned and saw her. Sarah Mitchell, or what used to be her. She stood between two trees, small and pale, eyes wide with fear. They won't let me go home, she said. Please help me. I raised my weapon. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely aim. Cole, don't, Marcus said. That's not Sarah. Sarah's gone. But what if she's gone? The child tilted her head. Then she smiled, the same stretching, impossible smile. You're right, she said in a voice that was no longer a child's. She is gone, but I kept the best parts. Marcus fired. The round hit her in the chest. She stumbled back, and for a moment her form flickered, like a TV losing signal. I saw something underneath the skin, something black and writhing. Then she collapsed. Marcus didn't wait. He fired 3 more rounds into her body. Each impact caused her form to distort further, until finally, she dissolved into a puddle of black liquid that seeped into the ground. One down, Marcus said. Where's the other? I turned, scanning the trees. Then I heard it. My own voice, right behind me. Here. Chapter 9. The Confrontation. I spun around. The doppelganger stood 5 feet away, close enough to touch. It looked exactly like me. Every detail, every scar, every line on my face. You're afraid, it said. I can smell it. Marcus raised his weapon, but the doppelganger moved faster. It lunged, knocking the gun from his hands. They hit the ground hard, rolling, grappling. I aimed my sidearm, but I couldn't get a clear shot. They were moving too fast. The doppelganger threw Marcus against a tree. He hit with a sickening crack and slumped to the ground, unconscious. Then it turned to me. Just you and me now, Cole. I fired. The round hit it in the shoulder. It stumbled but didn't fall. The wound hissed and smoked, black liquid oozing out. It looked down at the wound, then back at me. That hurt, it said. It started walking toward me. I fired again, hit it in the chest. It kept walking. Again, the leg. It stumbled but kept coming. I pulled the trigger again. Click. Empty. The doppelganger stood inches away now. I could smell it, like wet earth and decay. You can't kill me, it whispered, because I'm already part of you. I've been watching you for months, learning you, living in your shadow. It reached out and touched my face. Its hand was cold. I know how you think, how you move, how you breathe. I know you better than you know yourself. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. And soon, it whispered, I won't need you anymore. Then Roger's voice cut through the darkness. Get down. I dropped. A gunshot rang out, then another, and another. The doppelganger's head snapped back. Its form flickered, distorted, then began to collapse. It fell to its knees, black liquid pouring from multiple wounds. You can't. it rasped. Roger stepped into view, rifle raised. Yeah, we can. He fired one more time. The doppelganger exploded into a spray of black liquid that evaporated before it hit the ground. For a moment, the forest was silent. Then Roger lowered his rifle. You okay? I nodded, unable to speak. Marcus groaned from the base of the tree. Did we get it? Yeah, Roger said. We got it. Epilogue. The aftermath. The Institute cleaned up the site. They swept the area with chemical neutralizers to make sure no trace of the doppelgangers remained. Marcus recovered after a few days. Cracked ribs, concussion, but nothing permanent. Roger and I went back to our normal routine. Patrols, maintenance, coffee on the porch. But I still check the trail camera footage obsessively. Every card, every timestamp, every frame. Looking for myself. Because here's the thing that keeps me up at night. The doppelganger said it had been watching me for months, learning me, living in my shadow. And as I was reviewing footage last week, footage from cameras I'd already checked months ago, I found something I'd missed. Camera number 23, 4 months ago, 11:47 p.m. A figure walking through the frame. Me. But I wasn't on patrol that night. I was at the station, with Roger. Or at least I thought I was. I haven't told Roger what I found. Because now I'm wondering, if the doppelganger had been watching me for months, how do I know it didn't already replace one of us? How do I know I'm still me? And how do I know the Roger sitting across from me every morning is really Roger? I don't. And that's the worst part. I'll never know. Story 4. The List of Names. Chapter 1. The Discovery. They warn you about a lot of things when you become a ranger in Appalachia. Don't answer the door at 3:33 a.m. Don't follow footprints that point backward. Don't trust anything that knows your name. But nobody warned me about the list. I found it last week, buried in a filing cabinet in the basement of our station. A single piece of paper, old and yellowed, with 47 names written on it. Names of rangers who'd worked here over the decades. Rangers who'd left, or so I thought. Each name had a date beside it. The oldest entry was from 1972. The most recent was from 2 years ago. And at the bottom, in ink that looked fresh, was my name. Cole Winters. The date, tomorrow. I didn't understand. I hadn't quit. I hadn't put in for a transfer. I hadn't even talked about leaving. So why was my name on this list? I showed it to Roger. He looked at it for a long time. Then he looked at me. Cole, he said quietly, that list isn't about rangers who left the station. It's about rangers who left themselves. I didn't understand what he meant. Not until I looked at the list again and saw his name. Roger Williams, dated 15 years ago. The same year he started working here. The basement of our ranger station isn't a place you go unless you have to. It's damp, smells like mildew and old concrete, and the single bulb that lights the space flickers like it's got a grudge against electricity. I only went down there because of the pipe. We'd had heavy rain for 3 days straight, and water started seeping through the ceiling of the main room. Roger sent me down to check the main line and shut off the valve if needed. Should be on the east wall, he said, barely looking up from his paperwork, behind the old storage shelves. I grabbed a flashlight and headed down the narrow staircase. The steps creaked under my weight, and the air got colder with every step. The basement was exactly as bad as I remembered. Boxes stacked haphazardly, broken equipment shoved into corners, a few old filing cabinets that probably hadn't been opened in decades. I found the valve easily enough and cranked it shut. The hissing sound of water stopped. Crisis averted. I was about to head back up when something caught my eye. One of the filing cabinets, a dented metal thing with rust blooming along the edges, was pushed against the far wall, half hidden behind a broken desk and some stacked chairs. I don't know why I walked over to it. Curiosity, maybe. Or just the instinct that comes from 3 years of looking for things that don't want to be found. The cabinet had 4 drawers. 3 of them were empty. The 4th was locked. The lock was old, rusted. When I pulled on the drawer, the lock crumbled apart in my hand like dried clay. Inside was a single sheet of paper. I pulled it out and held it under my flashlight. At the top, in careful handwriting, it said, "Rangers who left." Below that was a list of names, 47 of them, each one followed by a date. I recognized some immediately. Tom Milner, October 12th, 1987. Tom was the ranger who'd opened the door at 3:33 a.m., the one who disappeared. Roger had told me that story on my first night. Sarah Mitchell, October 3rd, 2019. Sarah, the ranger who'd gone missing 5 years ago, the one the Doppelganger had copied. I kept reading. David Carver, June 18th, 1993. Linda Zhao, March 22nd, 2001. Marcus Bentley, November 5th, 2008. Names I'd heard in passing. Rangers who'd quit, transferred, or vanished. Some I'd never heard of at all. Then I got to the bottom of the list. The last entry. My hand started shaking. Cole Winters, December 3rd, 2024. Tomorrow. My name was on the list, with tomorrow's date. I read it 3 times, trying to make sense of it. I hadn't submitted a resignation. I hadn't requested a transfer. I hadn't even talked about leaving. So why was my name here, and why was the ink so fresh? I folded the paper carefully and headed back upstairs. Chapter 2. Roger's reaction. Roger was still at the desk when I emerged from the basement. He looked up as I approached. "Valve closed?" he asked. "Yeah." I set the paper on the desk in front of him. But I found something else. He looked down at the paper. His expression didn't change, but I saw his jaw tighten. "Where did you get this?" "Filing cabinet. Basement. What is it?" He picked up the paper slowly, like it might bite him. He read it in silence. When he finished, he set it down and rubbed his face with both hands. "I was hoping you wouldn't find this," he said quietly. "Roger, what the hell is this? Why is my name on here?" He didn't answer right away, just stared at the list. "It's not a death record," he said finally, "and it's not a resignation list." "Then what is it?" He looked up at me. His eyes were tired, older than I'd ever seen them. "It's a list of rangers who changed." "Changed how?" "Changed into something else. Something that looks like them, sounds like them, but isn't them anymore." I felt my stomach drop. "You're saying these people were replaced?" "Not exactly. It's more complicated than that." He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the forest. "This place, the mountains, the woods, the institute, it does something to people. If you stay here long enough, if you see enough, if you become enough of what this place needs, you stop being what you were." "I don't understand." "You become part of it, Cole. Part of the forest, part of the system. You keep your face, your voice, your memories, but something fundamental changes. You're not human anymore. Not really." I stared at him. "That's insane." "Is it?" He turned to face me. "You've seen things out here. Monsters, creatures, things that shouldn't exist. What makes you think the forest can't change us too?" "So what? I'm just going to wake up tomorrow and be different?" "Maybe. Or maybe it'll happen slowly. So slowly you won't even notice." I looked down at the list again. Then I saw something I'd missed before. Near the middle of the list. Roger Williams, March 15th, 2009, 15 years ago. I looked up at him. "Roger, your name is on this list." He nodded. "I know." When did you start working here? March 16th, 2009. My blood went cold. The day after your name appears on the list. Yes. So you're saying you're not Roger anymore? He smiled sadly. I'm Roger. I have all his memories, his personality, his skills. But am I the same Roger who walked into these woods 15 years ago? He shrugged. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Chapter 3. The Pattern. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, turning Roger's words over in my mind. You become part of it. What did that even mean? I thought about the past 3 years, the things I'd seen, the creatures I'd encountered, the moments when I should have been terrified but felt strangely calm instead. Was that me? Or was that something else influencing me? At 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went to the monitoring room. I pulled out every piece of documentation I could find on the station's history. Personnel records, transfer logs, incident reports. I cross-referenced them with the names on the list. A pattern emerged. Every ranger on that list had worked at this specific station, not other stations in the region, just this one, Crescent Valley. Every ranger had stayed for at least 2 years before their name appeared on the list, and every ranger had encountered at least one major incident, a doppelganger, a mimic, a code-red entity, before the change happened. I pulled up my own file. 3 years at Crescent Valley, check. Multiple major incidents, check. The photographer's last roll, the thing that knocks, the trail camera footage. I fit the pattern perfectly. At 3:33 a.m., the knocking started. I didn't even flinch anymore. It was just background noise now. That's when I realized Roger might be right. Chapter 4. The Conversation. The next morning, I confronted Roger on the porch. I need to know what's going to happen to me, I said. He was drinking coffee, watching the sunrise. He didn't look at me when he answered. I don't know, Cole. It's different for everyone. What happened to you? 15 years ago? He was quiet for a long time. Then he started talking. I was investigating a report of missing hikers. Found their camp about 10 miles north of here. Everything was intact except the people. They were just gone. I followed the trail deeper into the woods, past the fog line, past the red zones, into territory we're not supposed to enter. And I found them. The hikers, all 4 of them, standing in a clearing, perfectly still, facing a tree. I called out to them. They didn't respond, so I got closer. That's when I saw what they were looking at. The tree had faces, human faces, growing out of the bark. Dozens of them. Some I recognized, rangers from old photos, hikers from missing person reports, people who'd disappeared in these woods over the decades. And one of the faces was mine. I felt my skin crawl. What did you do? I ran, got back to the station, filed my report. The Institute sent a team, but they couldn't find the tree. Said I must have been hallucinating, exposure, dehydration, stress. But I knew what I saw. The next morning I woke up and something was different. I couldn't put my finger on it. I looked the same, sounded the same, but I felt connected to the forest, to the mountains, like I could hear them breathing. I tried to ignore it, kept doing my job, but it got stronger. I started knowing things I shouldn't know, where creatures would appear before they appeared, when someone was going to get lost before they got lost. I thought I was going crazy. Then I found the list, saw my name, realized I wasn't the first. Did you try to leave? I asked. Thought about it. But where would I go? This is what I am now. This is where I belong. He finally looked at me. And soon, it'll be where you belong too. Chapter 5. The Choice. I spent the rest of the day trying to figure out what to do. I could run, pack my things and leave, get as far from Crescent Valley as possible. But would that even work? If the forest had already marked me, would leaving make a difference? I thought about calling the institute, but what would I tell them? That I found a list with my name on it? That Roger admitted he's not entirely human anymore? They'd think I was losing it. Maybe I was. At sunset, I made a decision. I grabbed my pack, loaded it with supplies, and headed for the door. Roger was on the porch, same as always. "Going somewhere?" he asked. "I'm leaving. Tonight. I'm not waiting around to see what happens tomorrow." He nodded slowly. "I understand. You're not going to try to stop me? Would it matter if I did?" "No." "Then good luck, Cole." I started down the trail, made it about 100 yards before I stopped. Something felt wrong. The forest was too quiet. No birds, no insects, just silence, and I could feel it. That same connection Roger had described. Like the trees were watching me, waiting. I took another step forward. The trail ahead of me moved, not dramatically, just a subtle shift, like the path was rearranging itself. I turned around. The station was still visible. Roger was still on the porch. I tried again, walked another 50 feet. The trail shifted again, this time more noticeably. Trees seemed closer together. The path narrowed. I stopped. I wasn't going to make it out. The forest wouldn't let me. I walked back to the station. Roger was right where I'd left him. "It won't let you leave," he said quietly. "I know. I'm sorry, Cole." I sat down on the steps. We sat in silence as the sun disappeared behind the mountains. Chapter 6. The Change. I went to bed that night expecting something dramatic, a transformation, a moment where I'd feel myself stop being human. But nothing happened. I woke up the next morning feeling exactly the same. I checked the mirror. Same face, same scars, same tired eyes. Roger was already up making coffee. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Normal." "Good. Is that it? Is it over?" "I don't know. Like I said, it's different for everyone." I went about my day, checked the perimeter, reviewed trail cameras, did paperwork. Everything was normal, except small things. I knew a tree had fallen on the north trail before I got there, just knew it. I could hear a hiker calling for help before the radio call came in, heard it in my head. When I checked the trail cameras, I knew what I'd find before I watched the footage. And the forest, I could feel it. Not as a separate thing, as part of me, an extension of my senses. Roger noticed. "It's starting," he said. "What do I do?" "Nothing. Just accept it. Fighting makes it worse." Chapter 7. The Truth. A week passed, then 2. The changes continued. Small, subtle, but undeniable. I could navigate the forest in complete darkness without a flashlight. My feet just knew where to go. I could identify creatures by their presence alone. Didn't need to see them or hear them, just knew they were there. And I started understanding the forest in a way I never had before. It wasn't evil, it wasn't malicious, it was just alive. And it needed guardians, people who could bridge the gap between the human world and whatever existed out here in the deep woods. That's what we were. Roger. Me. All the names on that list. We weren't replaced. We were changed, evolved, made into something that could survive in both worlds. One night I asked Roger if he regretted it. Regret? He thought about it. No. I miss who I was sometimes, but I'm more useful now, more effective. I can protect people in ways I couldn't before. Do you think we're still human? Human enough, he said. The parts that matter, anyway. Chapter 8. The new name. A month after my date appeared on the list, I went back to the basement. I opened the filing cabinet. The list was still there. I pulled it out and looked at it. My name was still at the bottom, but something had changed. The date was crossed out, and below it, in fresh ink, someone had written, "Complete." I stared at it for a long time. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I turned. Roger was standing at the bottom of the stairs. "You feel it now, don't you?" he asked. "Yeah." "Welcome to the family, Cole." He handed me a pen. At the bottom of the page, below my name, there was space for one more entry. "Who do you think it'll be?" Roger asked. I thought about the new ranger coming next month, fresh out of training, eager, naive. I thought about the forest, what it needed, what it demanded. I uncapped the pen, and I started to write. Epilogue. The station. If you're reading this, you're probably the new ranger assigned to Crescent Valley Station. Welcome. There are things you need to know, rules you need to follow, warnings you need to heed. Don't answer the door at 3:33 a.m. Don't follow footprints that point backward. Don't trust anything that knows your name. And whatever you do, don't go into the basement. There's a filing cabinet down there, in the back corner, behind the broken equipment. Inside is a list. Your name is probably already on it, and there's nothing you can do about it. The forest has already chosen you, just like it chose me, just like it chose Roger, just like it's chosen every ranger who's ever worked here. You can fight it. You can run. But it won't matter. In the end, you'll change. You'll become what this place needs you to be, and one day, you'll be the one adding a new name to the list. That's just how it works. My name is Cole Winters, or at least it used to be. Now, I'm not sure what I am, but I'm still here, still watching, still protecting, and I always will be, because that's what the forest needs. And what the forest needs, the forest gets. See you soon.